Okay, hello and welcome to the video. My name is Wade Smith, and this video is about practical karate, both for street self-defense and MMA, and what are the differences between the street self-defense bunkai of karate versus MMA. Why is karate less successful in MMA than it should be, given the street value of self-defense of karate? All right, so the thing is, in MMA, the karate practitioner cannot use strikes such as throat jabs and neck breakers and things like that to instantly win a fight, because that's illegal. Not only is it against the rules of MMA, but it's always been illegal in every country in the world to kill your opponent for sport. All right. So that immediately explains why roughly 50 something karate moves that I can think of are banned in MMA, either by the MMA rules directly or by the law of the land that you're fighting in. Uh, I'm not going to go through all of them, but there's even a rule in MMA against intentionally injuring your opponent. So if you break their arm knowingly, you're breaking the rules of the competition. So we know how to break your arm and guarantee dislocating your elbow or just breaking bones in your arm or leg, and we can do it like that if we practiced it enough. And so the reason why people didn't do that to Hoist Gracie wasn't because they could not do that. It's because they will not do it, because it's against the law, except in a street self-defense or military application. It's not that karate doesn't teach those things. Now, one bunkai, I just saw Grandmaster Michael Calandra teaching the Kuzanku bunkai, and it's really deep, and he was teaching underhooks. And by the way, so the gentleman online, and I'm not going to use his name because I'm not trying to embarrass anybody, but he asked and disbelieved whether I was taught single leg takedowns and double leg takedowns in the early 1990s by my first Ishinru instructor and later by my second Ishinru instructor. But yes, I was taught single leg takedowns, at least 4 variations of single leg takedown and at least 2 variations of double leg takedowns by both my first and second Ishinru karate instructor. In fact, the first one was before the UFC even existed, so it doesn't come from Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. It actually comes from Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. It's been taught, and then I saw Jesse Enkamp with I think his name is Eric Henderson, the former MMA champion and the trainer of Brock Lesnar. He had a book that's a couple hundred years old that teaches all sorts of takedowns in karate, and about half of them are banned in MMA because they break bones in the process of taking the person down if you do it full speed and full force. So the notion that all good takedowns come from either judo or Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is misguided, because Japanese Jiu-Jitsu has always been taught in combination with Okinawan karate. And there are hundreds and hundreds of Japanese Jiu-Jitsu submissions, submission combos, and combined submission striking combos, where we get someone in a submission with one arm or one leg, and we punch them in the face or solar plexus or kidney or liver or heart with the other hand, or with a knee or something like that. So anyway, Grandmaster Calandra, who's not one of my original instructors, but he's really good. He's very good, and I watch him from time to time for refreshers. He was teaching the Kuzanku bunkai, which has like a hand movement like this. Let me see if I can get my whole body where you can see what the bottom hand is doing. It's like this, and then it changes to like this. So you're basically doing the same motion on both sides. And from here, he showed how you're actually going for an underhook. And if it's a street fight, you can actually hit the person in the groin or grab them by the groin to immobilize them with severe pain. If it's a MMA match, you could instead elbow or hammer fist to their solar plexus or belt knot level down into the bladder, which is technically not illegal. All right. But generally for street self-defense, you're going to go for the groin. You're going to hammer fist them in the groin and then grab them by the groin and maybe even pick them up by the groin. All right, with one hand, and then you're going to shift and you're going to get an underhook on them, which is classic MMA, except that it's also street legal. Okay. So you're going to go for a double underhook eventually, and you're going to throw them either over your hip or over your shoulder. And he was teaching this as a karate bunkai from Kuzanku kata, which is, I don't know, 200 years old. So this did not come from Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. It came from Japanese karate and Jiu-Jitsu. All right. Yeah, Kuzan kata, if I remember right, is almost 200 years old. I think the oldest kata in Ishinru is Naihanchi, and we're not even sure exactly where Naihanchi kata comes from. It's so old. But he said that he thinks Kuzan-ku is heavily influenced by Chinese karate, so it's probably older than Okinawan karate. All right. So, and he also debunked the myth that Kuzan-ku is some kind of nighttime fighting kata, and he showed practical kata bunkai for actual fighting. Then let's debunk the other myth. Karate people fight like robots. Karate people fight like kata. No, we do not. Not good karate fighters, anyway. We use kata as a memorization tool for hundreds of techniques. We don't fight by rote or by kata. All right. But what we're doing is no different than you drilling your techniques. We drill our techniques with a partner, our bunkai techniques with a partner. And sometimes we need two partners for multiple attacker drills for street self-defense. But it's no different than you drilling your jiu-jitsu on the ground in rolls. We do the same sort of thing. We roll on the ground too sometimes. About one out of every 10 classes is purely groundwork in karate class. Now, does competition point sparring suck for self-defense and for MMA? Definitely. It's useless. All right. Because anybody can learn to throw a punch or a kick, and anybody can learn to pull their punches or kicks. All right. So I love, and I've done this like probably a dozen times, the Naihanchi kata bunkai, where we're blocking a punch that's coming in, and then we grab the back of the head or the back of the neck and pull them into the smash. We've seen that happen a few times in MMA, and it's an instant knockout when it's done. All right, this hits with about double the force of the strongest cross punch that you're ever going to be able to throw as a human being. So it's hitting in the 2,500 to 3,000 pound force range. Understand? So it hits with bone crushing force, and it is an instant knockout. I've seen somebody compile a video of Naihanchi clenched elbow strikes similar to the Naihanchi clenched elbow strike, and it is in fact an instant knockout when it happens. But he was showing in Kuzan-ku, when you do this kamai, all right, or whatever it's called, I think it's kamai, that if you're, much younger than I am now and also less sick than I am now and healthy like I was when I was 20 to 24 years old, you can move around a lot better. And when you move around a lot better, you can break the person's arm and break their knee all in one motion with that kamai and end up with an underhook on them and throw them like a rag doll, especially once you've done broken a bone or two. So that's practical karate for street self-defense. And I'm not stealing his work. I'm just going to show this that it's me versus the grandmaster teaching it. All right. Yes, I was taught all this stuff 24 years ago by Mark and Sherry Myers in their Ishinru karate and Japanese jiu-jitsu school. And they later changed from teaching Ishinru as their primary style to teaching Krav Maga, because Krav Maga doesn't rely on kata, so it's more palatable to people who dislike kata. All right. All right. But it teaches pretty much the exact same fighting skills, just without having to move sequences of kata. But if you dislike kata, the number one reason for disliking kata is